Welcome to the NP Marketing Mastermind, powered by NP Hub. I'm your host, Krish Chopra, and we launched this show to give any nurse, especially nurse practitioners, access to marketing training. Marketing is without a doubt one of the hardest facets of business to master. So my hope is that with this show, you'll learn to grow your brand and your business to new heights. Our featured marketing expert is nurse Portia Wofford, and she's an expert in content marketing and in writing. Now, she's been featured in numerous podcasts, has her own business while still maintaining a full-time position being a nurse, and she is amazing. So the next few weeks, for the next few months, we're going to be releasing videos every single week, answering any marketing questions that we've been asked in the previous week. Now, it's really exciting that we have so many questions from our community being asked every week. And our hope is that one by one, we'll answer them so that one day you can look to this podcast and get every single marketing question you have answered by an expert. Portia, thanks everyone, and enjoy the show. Hi everyone, welcome to the NP Marketing Mastermind. I'm Krish Chopra, and I'm with Portia Wofford, the incredible writer and marketer. And we created this show so NPs can ask their marketing questions without hesitation or judgment and get direct, actionable answers. We know the business side of healthcare can be scary, it's daunting, and it's really foreign. So our hope is that this episode, this show, helps you answer any questions you may have. And today we're coming to you with 6 solid questions that we're super excited to talk about. Portia, how's your day going?
My day is going well. I'm a little under the weather, but other than that, my day's going well.
That's awesome. And we were just talking right before we started recording that even like if one of us was sick, just recording an episode for 15, 20, 30 minutes, that consistency will always trump intensity and getting into the habit of doing content. And one of the things I always see with my, our NPs in private practice who come to us, and they kind of balk at the idea of doing content. When in reality, if you do it daily, it's not too much of a hesitation, right? It's not too much. It's not so scary if you do 10 minutes a day. It's scary when you do 4 hours a day. And Portia, how do you manage that kind of like workload of doing content all the time?
I use a content calendar, so I have specific days that I use. Have specific days that I set aside that I'm going to write content. So not only am I a writer, I also have a son. So it's kind of, it's a balancing act. I know a lot of nurse practitioners have families as well. And so my son kind of knows when I'm in that writing mode, that's mom's time to write. But, for him, it's kind of, he's helping me with my business. So I just have a content calendar. So like 3 days out of the week, this is my time to write. No one disturb me. This time I'm writing it out. So I do like 4-hour blocks 3 times a week.
Wow, 4-hour blocks. That's impressive.
And that includes not only writing, but research as well. Researching, editing, structuring the posts that I write, different things like that.
Of course. That's intense. I wish I could stay that sort of committed 4 hours a day. I have like the attention span of a goldfish. So like I'm I'm a straight up, like if I can get an hour and a half of productivity, I'm the happiest person. Let's go ahead and get started with question number 1. I know I have 3. Portia, you have 3. Do you want to get started or should I?
I'll start.
Let's do it.
My first question is, what's the best social media for content marketing a clinic? This question was posed by a nurse practitioner. So she has her own practice and she's wanting to get into social media marketing, and she just wants to know what's the best social media platform to market her clinic.
So the question is, what's the best platform to market a clinic? I would say, so going back to our first episode, it's about understanding where your audience is. So if her clinic's in primary care and she's seeing all ages between kind of 18 all the way up to 65, I would spend most of my time on Facebook and Instagram. I would not spend my time on Snapchat. I would not spend my time on TikTok. And I know a lot of people are thinking like, what the hell, TikTok? And it might be controversial, but I would not spend my time on LinkedIn. I think one of the easiest things to do is Facebook and Instagram. While different, they're owned by the same company. And if you can knock out content creation there, eventually when you start running ads, it's really easy to run ads on both platforms at the same time. What do you think?
I agree with you. I think it depends on what type of practice you have, or what your specialty is. And so like women's health, maybe you could do YouTube, because you could do YouTube videos about different things about women's health. We just went out of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Someone that was a nurse practitioner that was a women's health nurse practitioner could have did a whole month on breast cancer, on YouTube videos.
Oh, wow.
Showing women how to do self-exams, different things like that. So it just depends on what your specialty is, what your clinic is, and who your patients are. You would kind of have to do a little bit of research to find out where they would be. As Krish says, make sure you just go to where they are. Wherever they are, that's where you'll go.
Right. So Portia, follow-up question on that one. If it was a pediatric clinic, would you market to the potential patients? So I guess your pediatric population, or would you market to the parents and the families of the pediatric, the kid?
I think for pediatrics, I'm thinking usually from like newborn all the way, I think they go maybe to 18 or 19, if I'm not mistaken. So I would do a little bit of both, because when you have a teenager, they might say, hey, Mom, this doctor seems really cool, or this NP seems really cool. Let's go check her out. And kids, they kind of boss of parents, our moms kind of, kids, they can, they can convince their parents to do a lot. So I think actually my son's dentist, he's been going to her for a while, and I was thinking we're going to stop going there because it's out of town and we could find someone closer to home. And he's like, no, I really love her. I want to keep going to see her. And I'm like, he's comfortable with her, so I'm going to keep going to see her. Even though I take the extra hour drive to get there, when I can really just go 20 minutes up the road to see a dentist. So I think you would market to both. It just depends on how much of each population you have. If you have more teenagers, I'll market to the teenagers, because they're getting to that point where they're becoming independent with their health care. They don't want mom or dad to come with them when they go back into the office. If you have, newborns and toddlers, of course, you're going to have to market to the parents, because they're ultimately going to make that decision.
100%. 100%. So you heard it here, guys. It's all about YouTube for sure. I did not mention that, and I should have. You're absolutely right about that platform. And then Facebook, Instagram. That's how you hit it. All right, question number 2. I only have 200 followers, says an NP we asked earlier today. I don't want to waste my time producing content for just 200 followers. No one's going to watch it. What would you say to that, Portia?
Everyone started out with 0 followers. We all started out with the same amount of followers. So I don't think that should be a reason that you don't produce content, because nurse practitioners, you guys have a unique skill set. You guys have something unique that you can market. You can market education. So especially on Instagram now, I've noticed, and I've actually talking to another nurse about this last week. We've noticed that more nurses and more people that are in healthcare, we're not putting selfies on Instagram. We're not putting pictures of ourselves. We're doing more educational things. We're kind of turning it into mini blogs. So I feel like if you have 0 followers, if you have 100,000 followers, everyone started with 0. No one started with 100,000 followers. No one started with 10,000 or 5,000 followers. You just have to curate content that your ideal patient or your client would want. And if you're a nurse practitioner and whatever your specialty is, getting out there and putting education out there is good. Putting education out there that your clients can understand, not using the medical jargon that we use, as terminology that we use as nurses, but just using the information that they can understand, because I follow tons of nurse practitioners and, different people in healthcare, physical therapists, anyone on Instagram, just because I like the educational content that they put out there.
Honestly, could not say that any better. Like, that is exactly what I was going to say as well. The thing is a lot of people get caught up in thinking, man, I need to have a high number of followers. But if their followers aren't relevant, then it doesn't help at all. It's just a vanity metric. If you only have 500 followers, but 300 of them are your patients, you're golden. Like, that's perfect. But if you have, 10,000 followers and like you have one patient out of that, then it's irrelevant. So keep in mind, like, it's about the engagement on that one, and don't get caught up with just a vanity number.
Totally agree.
All yours.
Next question. In an ever-changing healthcare market, how can nurse practitioners be sure they are sharing content that is specific to their profession?
I would say two things come to mind. The first one is, even though when you're producing content, you're probably in a hyper growth mode, in a hyper learning mode. That doesn't always mean that your patients are in that same mode, or even like your audience. So sometimes you may think that you've posted this content 2 or 3 times and that's enough. And like, nobody wants to hear it, they all learned it. The truth is there's a good chance someone hasn't seen it yet. And they've maybe read it but forgotten it. And I've made that mistake a ton myself. Like, we used to put out content on how to find your own preceptor. I did it for like 3-4 months and I was like, okay, now everyone knows how to find a preceptor. But that's just not the case. So remember that like, your audience doesn't necessarily learn at the same speed you learn. And the second thing is to ask them. Ask someone, take a survey, do what Portia is doing, which is, honestly, I'm so jealous. She literally asked her Facebook group questions they have on marketing, and then she answers them. That's incredible.
I totally agree with you. And yeah, healthcare is changing every day. We learn something new every day. But as nurses, and particularly nurse practitioners, what we do doesn't really change. We take care of people, we teach people, we educate them, we educate their families, we educate, the community, we educate our community. That doesn't change. And people still look to us. Nurses are still the most trusted profession. So as a nurse, and especially as an advanced practice nurse, you really have, you have your pulse on the people. You have the people's trust. You know what they need. And I just feel like, yeah, healthcare is changing, but that doesn't mean that you necessarily have to change who you are, because whatever your specialty is, there are always going to be changes, but you can always educate your patients, because even as nurses, things are always changing. I don't know everything as a nurse. You don't know everything as a nurse practitioner. I get on Instagram and I feel like, oh, wow, I didn't know that was going on in the nursing world. Oh, wow, I didn't know that was going on in healthcare. They're always discovering new things. It's your responsibility as a nurse practitioner, especially as a nurse practitioner who has his or her own practice, stay on top of what's trending and to relay that to your patients.
Well said. All right, next question. So this comes from one of our NP students, and she asks, does marketing yourself matter when you're an NP student? Why can't I wait until I graduate?
Okay, do you guys realize how many nursing students there are on Instagram who have tens of thousands of followers? They haven't even taken their NCLEX yet. People are following their journey. So as a nurse practitioner student, use marketing, if it's social media, if it's content, if you want to start a blog, use that as an avenue to market yourself, as an avenue to network. Use it as an avenue to network. Why won't you start now as a nurse practitioner student? You want to go ahead and start, meeting people. You want to go ahead and start making those connections as a nurse practitioner student. I say go for it. You can start an Instagram page and you can have people follow you from your journey through nurse practitioner school until you graduate. And then you have that like, know, and trust that I'm pretty sure you guys have heard that. You have that like, know, and trust. Your audience has been there. We've been with you. We've been grinding with you. We're rooting for you. We're ready for you to graduate. Now you're graduated. Oh my gosh, she's graduated or he's graduated. Want to see what you're doing next. You landed that job. Go girl. We're happy for you. Now you're going to start your own practice. Yes, we're rooting for you because we've been there with you since the beginning, since you were struggling in NP school.
100%. I mean, as an NP student right now, there are certain markets that are saturated, right? So nurses and nurse practitioners are undergoing a very different game when they come out of the job market. And for some of the NPs in oversaturated markets, you need to create a competitive differentiation. And for that, it's creating a brand, right? People want to hire people that by showing you can build a brand in addition to being in school, I mean, A, that shows social media savvy, two, that can develop more business. There's so many benefits that way. And even just networking into other roles, right? The minute you ask your audience, like, hey, I'm moving to a new city, does anyone have any connections in, I don't know, Denver? And somebody hooks you up with 5 different possible clinics to interview with, that separates you from submitting a resume on Indeed and getting lost in the shuffle.
What is the best way for nurse writers to market their content that would encourage journalists to use more nurses as health news sources? I love this question.
I think that this is your alley. I don't think I'm geared to answer this one, and that's okay.
I think we touched on this a little bit last week when I kind of went on my vent about people who aren't in healthcare, putting all this content out there, and people are trusting it because anyone can put a blog up and say they're a health coach or they're this and they're that, and they have no medical, clinical, or nursing background. I think that as nurses doing your advanced practice nurse, whatever your specialty is, first of all, you're an expert at whatever it is that you do every day, no matter what it is. Whatever it is that you do every day, you're an expert in it. You can use platforms. First of all, you should start blogging, or you should find platforms that will allow you to be a guest blogger to get your name out there, because you need to, get the SEO, get your name out there so that people can, when they Google nurse writer that specializes in oncology, you'll pop up. The next thing that I think you should do is to go on Google, type in the words healthcare writer or nurse writer oncology jobs, healthcare writer jobs, some phrases like that, keywords like that, and tons of things will pop up. And then you apply. You apply. You let them know you're a nurse and you specialize in this. So you have a clinical background to write about whatever it is that you're writing about. You can go on different websites and scroll down, and they have contribute for us, write for us. You click on those, you apply. Even if you've never written anything before, the fact that you're a nurse in whatever specialty it is, you're an expert. And then that's all I have on that. I mean, I can go on this all day long, because I really believe that as nurses, we need to be writing more, because we need to get the correct information out there. But I think the best way for us to market our content is we have to get out there and do it. There's so many nurses who want to be writers, and they're scared. They're scared to apply. I apply for jobs. They want an in-house nurse writer, but I apply to a job and I say, hey, I'm really not interested in working for you guys full time. Would you be interested in doing contract? Are you interested in a freelancer? And they'll say, yeah.
100%. That is actually, honestly, I think you should talk about that a little bit more, because that is a trick and a tip that a lot of amazing entrepreneur writers and a lot of just amazing entrepreneur marketers use as well. They go to companies who are looking to hire like a marketing person. Most of the time, they have unrealistic expectations. They come in as a freelancer and they say, hey, I can do A, B, and C for you. I can't do D, E, and F, and that's okay. And they knock A, B, and C out of the water.
Yeah, that's true. Even if you feel like that you don't qualify, you do qualify, you're a nurse, still apply. And sometimes they'll tell you, no, well, we really want someone on our team full time. And then sometimes you just have to pitch yourself and say, hey, I can't work for you full time. This is what I bring to the table. For me, what I bring to the table is my nursing expertise. If it's an area of nursing that I don't have expertise in, I have tons and tons of nurses who I network with. I have a vast network of nurses who have expertise in this, who I can reach out to, I can do research on. And most of the time they say, yeah, okay, we would love to have you on board. Because as nurses, other nurses who have other specialties and that you can reach out to that they can't.
100%. And I think another thing is, even if you don't have that expertise, you can always put together a feature article, right? Where you interview 3 to 4 other nurses or NPs in the specialties you need, but you as a nurse or an NP writing it, you gain that credibility by association.
I totally agree with that. Interviews are my forte. I love to do interviews because I just love to spotlight other nurses. But as you said, that makes me an expert. Hey, I would really like to speak with a nurse, an oncology nurse. I would like to speak with a pediatric nurse. So let me call Portia and see if she knows anyone.
Oh, yeah. 100%. 100%. So I think I'm on my last question, and this is a little bit vaguer, right? So I think we can go a lot of different ways on this one, Portia. Which platforms matter? There's so many between Pinterest, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, something else. And next year, there's going to be 2 more or 5 more. There's so many. What do you do?
I think you touched on this last week as well. It just depends on where your people are. You're gonna have to it's not just gonna come to you. You're gonna have to research. You're gonna have to go out there and you're gonna have to find out where your whether they're your clients, if they're patients, if they're people who you love to collaborate with, doctors, physicians, whoever it may be. You gotta have to find out where they are. For me, being a millennial nurse, right now millennial nurses are on Instagram. We're visual. For you might be a geriatric nurse practitioner. Well, you need to be on Facebook. So it just depends on, what your audience is or who your clients or who your patients are.
I generally like to say, I think an all-encompassing platform at the moment is, I still have a lot of love for Facebook. I know there's some people out there being like, I haven't used Facebook in 2 years. Well, you damn millennial nurses, like, all right, I understand. Maybe Instagram then for you guys. But I personally don't do enough on YouTube, but if I was creating content for patients, that would be a good avenue for me. A lot of opportunity there, like you said, and you could run some amazing ads right now on YouTube, especially non-skippable ones that you force people to watch your ad for 6 seconds. Like we just started doing that. I'm telling you, there's a lot of traffic there. So just a tip for anyone that has a budget to launch it, we spend less than $10 a day on it, FYI. And we get good traction from it.
Yeah, I think I like Facebook too. I'm still on Facebook because I like the Facebook groups. I'm obsessed with Facebook groups. I meet tons of nurses and nurse entrepreneurs, different people that I can network with. I love Facebook groups. I really think that Facebook is going to make a comeback, as far as like the millennials. I've started to notice more millennial nurses coming into the Facebook groups. I think the algorithm says Facebook groups is really where it's at right now. So I think Facebook, like you said, Facebook has different age ranges, and I think Facebook is still really good as well. And I like LinkedIn as well.
100%. Facebook groups, like you're still right. It is, if you're looking for a community, you can find it on Facebook groups. In this day and age, everyone's looking for a community.
Right.
Awesome. All right, Portia, that wraps up episode number 2. How do you think? What do you think it went?
I think it went good.
Yes. Awesome. All right, everyone. Honestly, I have to say, doing a couple of these episodes every week gives me a lot of just energy because so many nurses and NPs out there. We know you have marketing questions. Please keep them coming. I can keep making up questions myself, or I'm trying to, but we definitely want your feedback. So please reach out to us. You can reach us via email. We're on social media, direct message us. We're always available for y'all. And until next time, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for tuning in to the NP Marketing Mastermind, powered by NP Hub. This show was created to answer any questions that you have about marketing. So if you have a question, please email us at krish@nphub.com and we'll make sure to feature you in the coming weeks. As always, we need your feedback. So please leave us a review on this podcast. What do you want to see more of? What did you love? What did you hate? We definitely want to know. I hope you guys have a great day. I hope your business soars to new heights, and we'll see you next time.